welcome to Nurse Leader Dumpster Fire. We are going to talk about how to do one-to-ones with your frontline level employees. So you have a staff of 20 or more, and how do I do it? So welcome to today's question. How do I do one-to-ones as a manager with my 20 plus staff? Let's be honest. If you manage 20 plus staff, doing one-to-ones 2 to 4 times a year feels really unrealistic. But when done well, they're one of the highest impact things you can do as a leader.
I'm Cindy.
And I'm Teresa.
We are both master's prepared nurse leaders, and we are on a journey to help other nurse leaders avoid some of the mistakes that we had to make when we were in the middle of COVID and had to have our skills forged in the dumpster fire of all of that mess. So we believe in elevating nurse leaders to create dynamic and high-performing, cohesive teams that will lead to improved patient outcomes and happier staff.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about exactly how to run your one-to-ones when you have to manage a large team. First up, we're going to talk about the foundation. You have to start with a purpose. So before scheduling anything, you need to get clear on what are your team and department goals this year? What does success look like to you and to your staff? And what matters most to your staff specifically? Your goal is to create short, meaningful conversations, not long meetings.
Exactly. If you don't have a clear goal of what you're trying to achieve yet, that's okay. We can give you some baseline questions that you can start with. Something like, how's your schedule working for you? How are you doing in your work environment? What professional goals do you have? Is there anything that's getting in the way of your success that you need my help with? Or what feedback or concerns do you have that I need to hear?
Yeah, exactly. One of the things when you're considering these types of questions and you don't have clear goals yet and you're just like being careful, you want to be careful with these questions specifically. Are they things that you can control or adjust? So like say
So true.
the facility has a requirement on schedules like that you can't adjust or whatever. You have to consider those types of things. So just keeping that in mind, but definitely if you don't have clear goals, you can do those basic questions to still get going.
And these questions are going to help you build trust so that you can have an easier time moving forward. This is going to make that dynamic so you understand what your staff needs from you and they understand what you expect from them.
And it will give you a little bit of direction if you don't have any yet. Say you're new, you just don't really know where to get started. These basic questions will give you a little bit of that to guide that. So it's really helpful. So the next thing is planning realistically. Again, you have 20 plus staff, maybe more, who knows. Logistically, this can feel really challenging to figure out. And how the heck am I going to meet with this many people with all the other things I have to do? No way am I going to be able to make that happen. That's insane. You're crazy. It's never going to work. What are you guys talking about? I know you didn't do that. So you got to kind of meet staff where they are, like just on their shift when there's a lull in the moment and you can walk out and check. And that's kind of how you can get started. You don't need to look at every person's schedule and make it all perfect and plan. Just like walk out, see someone, oh, they don't look super busy right now. Go up to them, ask them, how's your day going? Is it really busy? If it's not, grab them.
Right. This doesn't need to be a formal setting. This could be like, oh, I have a minute. It seems like the unit's quiet. Let me go out and grab somebody that I haven't had a chance to check in with. Just bring them in. This can be kind of a casual thing as long as you have a little bit of a framework on what you need to achieve in that meeting.
Yeah. Have your basic questions, whatever they might look like, a little bit ready. So, and then as you move along and you kind of have some of those staff with the weird schedules or you may not see as often, then you're going to have to get a little bit
to plan ahead a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. You just need to kind of prepare. So making sure you're being flexible, aim for consistency over perfection. The goal, like we said, it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be anything. The one thing I would say is try to summarize what you talked about in an email back to them if you can, just so that you don't forget some of the important things they may have said. That's a big one.
So the next thing we want to talk about is how you can connect your vision and the hospital's vision with your team. You want to be able to share your vision or the organizational vision in a way that is going to be relatable to the frontline staff so that they're bought in and you guys are all on the same mission together. And this is really important when you're trying to achieve big things together and you're doing process improvement changes. So, this might look like our goal is to be the best ICU unit that we can be, or we want to be the most efficient ER that ever existed. We want to get these patients in and out and up on the units in beds faster than anyone else in the country. Whatever that is, you want to be able to identify that and bring that into these one-to-ones. And then you might want to ask things like, what does this look like for you as the employee in this role? how can you participate this? Like we all, when we have these big visions, we're a cog in a big system and we all have a part to play. And so your staff may not consider that they are a part of this bigger plan. And so it's a good time for you to initiate how they believe that they're going to contribute to the bigger vision of the facility or your unit or whatever your whole organization looks like. And then other things you want to talk about is what are the barriers that might be getting in the way? Do they feel bought in? Do they really understand what the vision is? Do you need to have a conversation about why we have this vision and what we're all working towards? And this is things that are going to help keep your staff engaged so that when things come down the pipeline, sometimes some things come from up above in executive leadership or even higher up. It helps the team understand why these things are coming down and makes it easier to transition into those flows.
Yeah, it sure does. The other part of that is like, that's the vision, right? You're connecting it to the vision. Now we want to take that vision and we want to tie those conversations to their performance goals, right? So you want to keep one main goal front and center, whatever that looks like. If that is your vision of being the best department in whatever world you're in, ER, oncology, ICU, med surge, if you want to do that and that's your vision for your team, keep that front and center. Then you can say one of the things that you guys have struggled with is like infections. So we're working to improve our infection rates. And that's something you're going to throw out there. How can I support you in helping us reach that goal? Or what do you see out there when you're working that is interfering with us reaching this goal? Do you see a gap I don't see? Like kind of figuring that out. This helps keep them focused on our outcomes and shows you that you're supporting them and helping reach that because you're asking questions that might like, what are you seeing? Help me out. I don't know. And then you're not just like evaluating them and they don't feel like it's a question. It's more of like a connection.
Right. So when we're talking about using these metrics and how you tie that into the goal, like Teresa said, if we're talking about an infection rate, you might have things on your unit that you use to check that quality. Like a very common one is an ER might have a sepsis bundle that they're supposed to be doing. And so they may be tracking, are we being successful on that sepsis bundle? And there's a part that the providers have to play and there's a part that the nurses have to play. So if you're a nurse leader, you could be tracking what is the nurse's part. Did they get that fluid up and running? Did they get the antibiotics? Did they flag? Did they do the documentation so that the sepsis bundle flags and it alert the provider? And all those things can be tracked. And if you have a good system for tracking those things, when you sit down with that employee for the one-to-one, we can look at that and we can say, this is our goal right now. We're working on sepsis. And here's your part that you play as the nurse in this bigger bundle. And here's where you're performing. And so there's an opportunity there that if somebody's missing a step and they aren't realizing, you can then have a conversation about why do we have this bundle in the first place? What is the purpose of this? And why we care about them stepping up. And then you can help them engage to say, what do you think you can do to try to work to get this metric to improve? So that's a good opportunity right there. Yeah. And this does two things. This helps you keep the focus on the outcomes and it shows that you're there to support them, that you're not just there to evaluate. This is a conversation. It shouldn't be a punitive situation where you're like, hey, you dropped the ball 5 times out of 10 last month. We need you to pick it up. It's okay, what's the barrier that's getting you to not be able to perform this metric and how can I support you to be successful?
Yeah. Making it meaningful will close the loop on those concerns. It'll help you follow up. When I was saying like do the email, that'll help you follow up on any concerns or whatever that they have. And then just a reminder, one-to-ones do not have to be perfect. They just need to be intentional and make sure that your staff feels heard, supported, and connected to that bigger goal. And then with that, your performance and engagement will follow. When we're talking about these one-to-ones with your bigger level staff, these are kind of our, brief interactions with all of your people. So you're trying
checkpoints.
Yeah, small checkpoints. Like we have a template we can send if you are interested. And then following this video, there will be another video for our high achieving or your higher level leaders. So Cindy might have a check-in with managers. And so we're going to talk about how to do those one-to-ones with your managers or your higher level leaders so that is impactful because this format may not work for them because what you want for your higher level leaders is for them to bring information to you. And for your staff, you're getting information from them. So it's a very different one-to-one vibe.
Yeah. In the higher achieving one-to-ones, A lot of times those staff, you don't need to cover some of these basic rules because they're very upfront and they're going to bring that information to you. So you're not going to be having to ask those questions. My high achieving employees, my managers, they tell me when they're having trouble and they tell me when they need help. I don't need to go to them and ask them that. So that's more of a supportive meeting. And we're going to go way into that in the next video that we do just specifically on that. But one of the take homes I want to just, as we're closing out and summarizing all of these items, is some really key things to keep in mind is when you have these one-to-ones, you don't want to be the one talking all the time. We want to be able to listen more than we can talk. You want to have open-ended questions that help engage a conversation so that you can let them really bring you into their world. That's the whole point of this. And then, like Teresa said, you want to make sure you're following up on what they said. So that's that follow-up email. If they ask you a question and they want to know about a policy or an SOP that you didn't know in the moment, go find that thing and put it in the email so that you can actually follow up on that. Don't say you're going to do something and not follow up. That's a great way to lose trust in your staff. Do what you say you're going to do. And then lastly, I think just making sure that we're closing the loop on any of those concerns. If they have an issue that they're, having a relational problem with a peer, you want to come back to that later on, maybe give them some feedback in the moment about how they can address it. And then you want to circle back with them and say, how's that going? Do you need more support from me? Do you need me to take this to the next level or, elevate this to another place?
Thank you for watching, and hopefully that you find this valuable, and hopefully you find these tools to help you connect with your staff.
Yep.
Those bigger one-to-ones, they get hard.
Yeah, so go out there, don't be afraid, start scheduling those one-to-ones and get to work. Your staff are going to really appreciate it and you will see the reward very quickly. So thanks for listening.
Bye.